Okay, you know that nightmare every homeowner has? That sound of dripping that suddenly turns into a gush, or that awful spreading stain you see on the ceiling? Yep, water damage. It's just chaotic. It's stressful, and it happens in an instant. So let's dive into this whole thing and really map out a clear path from that disaster moment all the way to a full recovery using the pros playbook.
So let's picture it. You come home to that exact scenario. A pipe has burst, water is absolutely everywhere. The panic starts to set in, right? But what's actually happening to your house, to the structure itself, in those first few minutes and hours? Believe me, it's a lot more than just a puddle on the floor.
It's like a rapid-fire chain reaction, really. The water soaks into your insulation, turning it into this useless, heavy, sagging mess. Then it starts wicking up the baseboards, making them swell and warp. It gets under those beautiful hardwood floors you love, and they start to buckle. Before you know it, the paint's peeling, and that unmistakable, musty odor starts to take hold. One problem, boom, it becomes 5 different problems.
Now you might be thinking, a leak is just a leak. But here's the thing. The environment around your home can take that leak and just dramatically escalate the threat. Let's take a look at how that actually works.
You know, where you live plays this huge role in how bad water damage can get. So for example, take a place with a really humid climate and clay-heavy soil. Well, that's just a perfect storm. That clay soil, it doesn't let water drain away. It actually traps it right up against your foundation. You add in the constant humidity, and you literally have a recipe for disaster, turning a tiny leak into a massive structural issue.
So let's say you've stopped the leak. The visible water is gone. You might think, okay, pew, the worst is over. But honestly, this is where the real danger begins. The threats you can't see, they're often the most destructive. This number right here, this is the one that matters most, 24 to 48 hours. That is the critical window you have after water gets in before mold can really grab a foothold, especially in a humid place. Speed is everything. I mean everything. From the moment the water gets in, you are fighting a ticking clock. And get this, not all water is created equal. The pros actually classify it into 3 different categories. Category 1 is what they call clean water, say from a burst water supply line. Category 2 is gray water. Think an overflowing washing machine. It's got some contaminants in it. And then there's Category 3, black water. This is the really nasty stuff, grossly contaminated from things like sewage or floodwaters. And knowing which category you're dealing with dictates the entire cleanup and safety plan.
And really, it is not just about mold. All that hidden moisture silently attacks your home structure. It causes wood to rot, it makes your drywall weak and crumbly, it can create incredibly serious electrical hazards if it gets into the wiring, and that damp, dark environment, well, it's basically a welcome mat for all sorts of pests.
Okay, so we've looked at the chaos. Now let's bring in some order. When the professionals show up, they don't just start randomly mopping. Nope, they follow a very precise, multi-phase process that's designed to take you from that moment of crisis all the way back to normal.
It all breaks down into 3 main phases. First up is the emergency response. That's assessing the damage and getting all that standing water out fast. Second is the science part, strategically drawing the entire structure and pulling all that hidden moisture out of the air. And finally, the restoration, rebuilding and replacing everything that was damaged to get your home back to the way it was.
Okay, this is my favorite part, because it's where technology and science really take over. You see, getting a house properly dry isn't guesswork. Not at all. It is a science.
The professionals come in armed with this really impressive toolkit. They use thermal imaging cameras to literally see moisture that's hiding behind your walls. Then they'll use digital moisture meters to get an exact reading of the water content in the wood and the drywall. And then they bring in the heavy hitters, massive commercial dehumidifiers and high-velocity air movers that all work together to pull that moisture out and get it gone for good.
And this, right here, is the most crucial point. Anybody can make a room look dry, but professional restoration is all about proving that it's scientifically dry. And that's the key. That's what prevents all those hidden dangers we just talked about from popping up months later.
And you have to know, this whole process, it takes time. Day 1 is all about extracting the water and setting up all that drying equipment. But then, for the next 3 to 7 days, that equipment is running non-stop while technicians are constantly monitoring the progress. The job is only done on the final day when those moisture meters confirm that the structure is back to its normal, safe, dry levels.
All right, so once your home is verified as completely dry, and I mean only then can the final phase begin.
putting everything back together again. The ultimate goal here is actually pretty simple. Make it look like the damage never even happened. This means carefully matching all your existing paint, your flooring, your finishes, all while making sure the structure underneath it all is 100% sound and secure.
So, what usually has to go? Well, any drywall and insulation that got soaked is pretty much a lost cause. You just can't dry it out safely. Same thing for warped flooring, soaked carpets and padding, and those swollen baseboards. All these materials get removed and replaced to make sure you have a clean, stable foundation for the rebuild.
Okay, we've gone through the problem and the professional solution, but what about you? What can you actually do in the heat of the moment? This right here is your actionable survival guide.
The alarm bells are going off. The water is rising. What you do in the first 5 minutes is absolutely critical. It's critical for safety, and it's critical for minimizing how bad the damage gets. So what's the play? What do you do right this second?
Okay, here are the 3 things you must do. No questions asked. 1. If you can do it safely, shut off the main water valve to your house. 2. Go to your breaker box and turn off the power to every affected area. Water and electricity are a deadly mix. And 3, call a certified professional immediately. Remember that 24-hour clock that's ticking?
Now, what's just as important is what you should not do. Do not use your regular shop vac to suck up the water. You are seriously risking an electric shock. And don't just point a bunch of household fans at the wet spots. You could actually be spreading contaminants around or even pushing moisture deeper into the walls. And this one is crucial. Do not wait for your insurance adjuster to show up before you call for help. Every single hour you wait just allows the damage to get worse.
And that kind of brings us to the final thought here. We've walked through the whole thing from that first drop of water to the final coat of paint. But the real question is, are you ready? Do you even know where your water shutoff valve is? Do you have the number for a professional saved in your phone? Because being prepared, that's the one thing that can turn a total catastrophe into just a manageable inconvenience.